Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Traffic Speed Limit and Road Closure Hearings Panel Committee. I'd like to declare the meeting open. Item 1, we've got apologies from Councillor Wilson and Councillor Taylor. I'll move the apologies. Do we have any other apologies? Oh, Councillor, sorry, seconded. Oh yeah, Councillor McIndoe to second. That's what you're asking for. Yes, yeah, I was, sorry. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Arnold?
Carried unanimously.
Okay. Item number 2 is confirmation of agenda. I'll move. Councillor Casey Cox to second. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Just before we go to declarations of interest, just welcome our 2 councillors online this morning as well. Sorry, I should have said that at the start. Thank you for zooming in. And welcome to the guests in the chamber as well. Right, so declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? No? Okay, I have a one that I'd like to table. I play cricket for Seddon Cricket Club, so item 6. While I often use the facilities, I don't feel conflicted that I would put myself in any position to have a potential conflict of interest, but I just wanted it to be tabled. Okay. All right, so no vote required on that one. Item number 4, confirmation of the last meeting on February 15. Would you like to move, Maxine? Yeah, I'm just making sure I was there. Oh, okay, all right. Okay. Okay, Maxine to move, and Tim, would you like to second? Oh, he wasn't in? No. Okay, all right. Yeah, okay, I'll second it. So, all those in favour? Aye. Right. Against? Right.
Carried unanimously.
Okay. Radio. Happy to move again. Maxine to move the, and Councillor Anna to second. Okay, all those in favour? Aye. Against? No.
Carried unanimously.
Okay, that's good. So that brings us to item number 6, which is our parking restrictions. However, we're going to hear the speakers first, aren't we? Yep. So I believe we've got 3 speakers this morning. And the first one up is Brenda Ellenson, who's going to be speaking around the restrictions on Knighton Road. Oh yeah. Is this your first time doing this, Brenda? Yes. Okay. Well, if you could come up to the table there. Yep. So we'll get. Does Brenda get 5 minutes or 10? 5 minutes. So Brenda, there'll be 5 minutes for you to talk to. There'll be a timer up here. Often, what we suggest is if you leave a little bit of time just at the end for potential questions, if any, but yeah, just take your time, and the floor is yours.
Okay.
Yep. So your microphone's on now. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Tim.
Thank you. So yes, I'm Brenda Allenson. My husband and I and our family trust own the shops at 141 Knighton Road, and also the 6 townhouses at 143 Knighton Road. On the 18th of December last year, we received notification to ourselves as the owners of the townhouses, and so did the townhouses, that there would be restrictions on parking. I note that the 4 shops didn't receive any notification. I believe the council have my last submission. So from there, we have amended with the STADEP from the council the parking for the shops. That's been okayed. Sorry, got myself all nervous now. There are a number of small issues in the written work from the council that I feel need clarifying more deeply. My reason for this and wanting more detailed wording is that in a few years' time, someone will read the wording and state that the wording is correct, but the plan is incorrect. So for number 1, It says no stopping at all times outside 141 Knighton Road, ending at Unit 6, 143. This is a driveway, as you can see from the picture, that goes round, and I think that it should be far more detailed wording to cover that. The council have very kindly cleaned out the shrubbery outside Unit 4 of 143, and there is now room for a lot more parking, and on the picture it says no parking on that corner at all. Well, now the shrubbery that was overgrown onto the driveway is clear, there is definitely room for parking, so that needs to be amended. Overall, the shops and 2 of the tenants of the townhouses, 4 tenants are overseas students and feel it doesn't concern them, they come and go. But the shops and 2 of the tenants who've been there a long time really believe that there is no need for these bylaws and parking restrictions, and that the parking should be just left as is. I think that covers pretty well all I need to say. So it was, in our opinion, overall we feel it should be just left as is, but if it does go ahead, there should be extra parking in the corner where the shrubbery was outside Unit 4, and to make note that there should be the 2 parks at the first entrance.
What's happening to my thingy here? Can't. Yes, sorry. Oh, there you go.
Angela probably can't see that.
Yeah, card was in the wrong way. Rightio. Okay, so does anyone have any questions for Brenda? Oh, hello, Angela. Would you like to ask your question? Deputy Mayor
Yeah.
Angela, I should say.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda. And don't be nervous. You're the customer and we're here to listen to you. So I think you did really well. Brenda, I'm just want to 100% clarify and thank you for your written detailed submission, and apologies for not being in the chamber today. So is it correct that it's you're supportive of the proposed no stopping restrictions in the area as indicated on our diagram from staff, other than outside 143? Is that correct?
Okay, so we have outside 141 the 4 shops. We have we have a 30-minute parking restriction, which is a bit tight for the hairdressers, but we go with it because outside Unit 5 and 6 of 143 Knighton Road, there are no parking restrictions, which allows our clients, if we can get in because of students, and also we use it for staff parking, but we have to bite the bullet on that and hope that it's okay. And that is also why we need some parking round the service lane for clients of the salon who are going to be there for more than 30 minutes, which is often 3, even 4 hours. There should be 2 parks in the entrance of the service lane. We fully agree with the one-way system. We believe there is room for 2 parks in the first corner outside Unit 1, but your engineer decrees that it isn't. There's room for 3 to 4 parks opposite Units 2 and 3, and then by Unit 4, where the shrubbery is and the flax and so forth have actually been removed off the roadway. There is room for at least 3 parks there, and you've got a no stopping sign around there. And then obviously no parking outside the garages of Unit 4 and 6 down opposite Unit 145's borderline in the park.
Okay, so that's around what your request is today, is around leaving or adding in around
the shrubbery, yes.
About 8, yeah.
Yeah.
About 8 extra parks.
We believe there is, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's really clear. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seat he's now saying, oh, seat 10? Oh, Councillor McIndoe, thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Brenda, for your very clear and positive submission. It does sound a little bit like a case of using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. I note that you have been in that area now for 50 years, and so you have pretty good knowledge of it. I've got a couple of questions, if I may. Firstly, who is predominantly using the parks in the area?
The shop owners or staff and the tenants.
Right. And would it be fair to say that it's pretty important that all of those shop owners and tenants have access to that parking, given the fact that Knighton Road itself, particularly when the university is in session, is in constant demand, often for short periods of time? But
It is. I mean, the shops and the tenants would really like to see it shops and tenants only.
yes.
But we know that's not possible. But we do need as much parking as we can get. Students don't tend to go around there. It does look private. And all of the townhouses have double garages, which is pretty unusual in the area. But they often, because they're 3-bedroom, they often have a third car, so they need parking for that. The Maiwar takeaways leave at night, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. They need to be parked close by in the driveway. And the sushi bar, he starts at 5 in the morning. So he likes to be very close when he comes in the dark. So
Thank you for that. So predominantly it is only tenants and the shop owners who are using that area. You've just explained why it's important for all of them to continue to have that access, and preferably with the number that is available to them. Can I then move on to the comment that you made that it might, in years to come, be seen that the outline in the photograph could differ from the wording, and you've been very helpful in wanting to clarify the wording to ensure that there is no ambiguity down the track. Have you received to this point feedback to say that yes, the additional suggestions that you are making can be incorporated and will be done in such a way to provide the clarity you're looking for?
when I registered to speak, I was given a link which I followed through and found that there was some slight difference in the wording, but it's still not clear enough in my mind against what the photo.
Right. Well, thank you for that. So I guess, Mr. Chair, what I'm signalling is that I would just want to be assured that in the feedback we subsequently get from staff, that Mrs. Allinson's comments have been taken into account, because she's clearly been very positive in the way that she's framed her submission. And it doesn't sound as if there's a huge problem that needs to be fixed here. In fact, we could be at risk of creating a problem where one didn't exist in the first place.
Yes, I might live another 20 years and I can see the problem coming up.
I hope you will. Thank you for that.
Okay, well, we can address that with staff later on. So thank you, Brenda, for coming in and for your submission. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thank you for time for listening to me.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, next up we've got Mr. Ian Kindred. Good morning, Ian. Welcome to the chamber. Yeah, I think you've been in before, haven't you? You've been in before?
I have.
Yep. Okay. All right. So you know kind of know the drill.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ian Kindred. I could be described, I guess, from the point of view of traffic on Story Ave as being one of the frustrated residents who live with the traffic, which we expect, no problem there, but the behaviour, I guess, of the traffic and the lack of speed calming that we live with at the moment. My house is, Story Road comes off Te Rapa Road and goes slightly downhill for about a couple of 100 metres until it meets with the roundabout with Steel Road, and then goes on down and meets the roundabout with Garnet Avenue. But what I want to say is that it's abundantly clear that there has been no reduction in speeds of vehicles travelling along Story Avenue. This is evident on first-hand experience of Story Ave residents and is supported by the tube test carried out by the Council in September 2023, following the completion of the roundabout upgrades. The tube results showed that 84% of vehicles are travelling at above the 40km/h limit and 34% are travelling at speeds above 50 km/h. These are all unacceptable speeds for a neighbourhood that is being promoted as a safer speed area. In addition to this, there are reckless hoons, for a better word, who believe that it's their right to drive as fast as possible along Story Ave without a care for anyone else. But it's not just the hoons. I see all sorts of vehicles driving at high speeds in both directions between Te Rapa Road and through the Steel Road roundabout. It's tradies in their utes and vans, average commuters, motorbikes, and mums who have just picked up their kids from school. Even on occasions, I see the Friday refuse truck racing to its next pickup location. It seems to be a feature of this broad, gently sloping roadway that invites speeding from so many drivers. The council made a big issue of the redesign of the two roundabouts on Story Ave, and the letters to residents announced the plan as potentially reducing the need for additional speed reduction projects. The outcome could not be further from the truth, as there has been no reduction in speeds, and in fact, traffic generally straight lines the Steel Road roundabout in both directions along Story Ave without need to reduce speed. It is little wonder that residents of Story Ave are sceptical about any future success of plans by the council to calm traffic speeds. That seems to be a lot of money spent on roundabouts for no positive outcome. The frustration at the lack of progress in traffic calming along Story Ave and the diversion of council attention by secondary issues between the council and the woodworkers over parking spaces are the reasons why Luke Mason, who's my neighbour, and I took up the push for a petition to have Story Ave closed off from Te Rapa Road. This seems a logical solution for the people of Upper Story Ave and received full positive support from all residents of the area who were approached. Nobody had any opposing views. The main reason for proceeding with the petition was to demonstrate to council that the residents are united in their demand for action from the council to bring about traffic speed calming. I can understand the reasons why the council have difficulty in supporting the idea of closing Story Ave off, but if better communication from the council and prompt positive action were evident, then all of the efforts that have been taken by the council to investigate the pros and cons of the road closure could have been avoided. The feedback that I have from contact with the residents of Story Ave is that residents are generally quite fearful and stressed about coming out onto Story Ave because of the aggressive behaviour of drivers, the two major accidents that have occurred recently, and the noise of high-speed driving on the road. After further consideration, I'm willing to support the plan to install the proposed speed cushions near number 6 and number 10 Story Ave in an effort to bring about traffic calming in this section of Story Ave. But in addition, I request that speed cushioning be installed either between Steel Road and the roundabout, the Steel Road roundabout and Story Ave, Garnet, Ave roundabout, or alternatively at the Steel Road roundabout entrances. This should discourage drivers straight lining the roundabout at high speed. I agree that bolt-on rubber speed humps are not desirable and should be avoided. In all, based on progress to date, I'm still somewhat sceptical regarding the success of proposed plans of calming traffic speeds, but hold hope for a positive outcome. I'm aware that other roads in the area, such as Garnet Road and Mitcham Ave, still have some traffic speeding issues and may benefit from the experience we've gone through here in Story Ave. I look forward to a positive outcome in the near future and thank the Council for allowing me to approach the panel to give my views. Thank you.
Ian, thanks for your submission. I don't see any requests from speakers. Councillor McIndoe?
Sorry, Mr Chair, I just thought because we'd gone over time, you might not have been allowing it. I wonder if I could. Ian, thank you very much for your submission, and in particular for indicating that you have consulted widely with the other residents of Story Ave. It's always good to know that a submission might enjoy widespread support. You'll probably be aware of the fact that there's been a lot of angst in our community over more and more speed bumps. It tends to be one of the things that excites people on social media more than just about anything else that happens as far as council activity is concerned. And you are calling for quite a few more. Three of those affected parties who we often hear are most opposed to speed bumps, and I'm just putting this to you because I'm interested in your experience in your area, are the emergency services. You'd actually mentioned tradies. I think you said a lot of tradies are hooning up. But also we hear increasingly of a lot of people who live with pain, disabilities, for whom even going over a speed bump at a slow speed can be very painful. The jolt is really painful. So I just wonder if you've had any feedback from any of those parties, and in particular, how often you see emergency services needing to go up and down Story Avenue to access Te Rapa Road.
The emergency services I see are generally police. Wanting to
Chasing the hoons?
Well, no, that's the problem.
right.
They're never there when you need them.
Right.
In terms of, I don't know what, I'm sure they're aware of speeding because they're speeding over the whole, you know, of all the cities. But from the people that I have spoken with, speed humps is not the first option. But, nor,
They want to get on top of the problem.
yeah, that's all. That's what we want. And I think that part of the problem is the shape of the road. It just invites speeding. It's just so wide. If some way that you could make it a winding road or have it tapering off in places, something to force the traffic to slow down, as opposed to going over a speed hump, sure, but it needs some design. And the council have available to them all the experts in road design and traffic calming, and surely there's something that can be done. I mean, it should be a bike lane or something to take up some of the room. But as I see it, the speed humps, if the cushions as they're being described, could be an answer that would slow traffic down, because at the moment the traffic isn't slowing down. It's no slower now than it was back in 2020 when I think we started this. And I came along and spoke at that stage early in the piece. So we're still going nowhere. I know things have been put in place, but they haven't worked. So it's really, I'd say put the speed cushions in rather than do nothing. And this is the kind of feedback that I get.
From
is that people say, hey, look, there's got to be something done. Because we're living under threat the whole time with the way the traffic behaves.
Well, thank you for that, and no doubt Luke will address that point perhaps when he comes forward as well. But
Well, Luke isn't coming today.
oh, sorry, I thought you said he. Oh, we've got his written.
No,
submission.
no,
Sorry,
he had to
thought
work.
You said
He had
was
to
with you.
work.
I thought you said he
was
was
a
with you.
working
I'm sorry.
guy, and
Okay.
he was going to come, but
Yeah.
he was told that he needed to attend a meeting.
No, that's fine. Thank you for that.
Councillor Van Oosten, you'd like to ask a
Yeah,
question.
just a really quick question for you. You've been along the journey of this over 4 years, as I believe, or almost 4 years. At the first instance, it was proposed that there be a raised safety platform not far from number 8 or something, I believe. And was that something that residents supported at the time? Do you
I don't
recall?
recall the raised platform.
Right.
Oh, the chicanes was the thing
Right.
that came in
Oh, okay.
first, and then
Yeah,
that was,
yeah.
I thought that was then suggested that they narrowed those up.
Okay, yeah, I think it might have been chicanes actually, I beg your pardon.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. And
So they were bumping out
Well,
and
the-
allowed
the problem there, and quite, I suppose, understandably, was some loss of parking spaces.
But was
but
that
I-
something that the community and you supported in order to lower the,
Well, yes, I
Speeds.
felt, yes, that's one way of doing it, because, you know, my feeling initially is speed bumps aren't really what people want, but I don't really fully understand how speed cushions work, but
sounds
they
comfy,
sound
doesn't
wider.
it?
Is it just a term to make them sound nice? Very comfortable.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
from the information I see from the drawings, it looks like they are much wider than just a hard
Yeah,
crunch that you do here.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
if,
And that'll be our
out-
questions to start,
out of
I'm sure.
frustration, I would say that's better than doing nothing, which is what we've done so far, really.
Yes. And you said 2 accidents? I saw photographs
Yes.
from one of them, or was that from the 2?
No, there've been 2 in the last
okay.
12 months.
Yeah.
One, a driver, came around the roundabout and did his donuts and whatever, and then raced on, and he had to avoid a car, and he finished up smashing into the
Power pole.
curbing outside number 10.
Okay.
Number 10, and sprayed concrete all over at the house type of thing, so, and wrecked his steering and got taken away, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the other one was where they hit the power pole,
Right,
which is more
yeah.
recent.
Yeah, that was pretty dramatic looking.
So,
Okay.
we're not saying that that's happening every day, but the potential is horrendous. Because of there's 2 types. There's the hoon, the dangerous driver, who's going to have an accident because they're probably
Thanks, Ian.
drunk or
Thanks,
on
Ian.
drugs.
I think we'll.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we-
And then
we get a message. I think we'll
and
wrap
then
it up
there's
there.
just the average Joe blog who's just going fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you for taking the time today, and appreciate you going to the effort. Okay, so Grant is in the chamber from Grant Taylor, I believe, from Woodworkers Guild. Welcome, Grant. You're no stranger to this area.
Yep,
So you know the drill. 10 minutes. If you want to leave a little bit of time at the end for questioning, that'd be great.
very good. So I'm Grant Taylor. I'm chairman of the Waikato Guild of Woodcraft, which is at 8 Story Ave. Our major concern is with the reduction in public parking outside our hall, which is owned by the land is owned by the Hamilton City Council and is regularly used by the wider community and not just our club members. Our club members is 65 members in total, but the hall is used by a wider range of the community, and so the public parking is essential. We don't have a problem with reducing the speed, but we actually feel there's a bigger problem in exiting Story Ave onto Te Rapa Road, because the traffic coming from Beres Court intersection through going north, it is extremely dangerous to enter onto Te Rapa Road. So we believe that is a bigger safety hazard than what is being raised at the present moment. Our concerns with the speed humps is actually the council staff in actually making a decision on the yellow lines, because we haven't had full clarity on that. One moment they said 20 metres, another moment they said 5 metres, now they say 7.5 metres, and so consequently that reduces the parking that we have. And consequently, because of that variation of information, we actually have lost trust and faith in the staff delivering clarity. So we don't have a problem with reducing the speed, but we don't want to see parking outside our hall reduced. The majority of our members are elderly, bring in large heavy cases of equipment to work on their craft, and consequently they can't walk too far. So that basically covers what I've got.
Thanks, Grant. Don't see any questions at this stage. Councillor McIndoe?
Sorry, well, I guess just in fairness, Grant, wherever possible, it's desirable for solutions to be found by agreement through the affected parties. And in your case, how would you describe the consultation you've had with the Story Ave residents? Do you see room for alternative proposals that could be taken into account that haven't yet been considered? I realise I'm late to the party on this issue, but I'm just trying to find out where there might be room for common ground.
I think the concern of the residents is, we'll call it the rat run of traffic going through. And so I actually think the proposal by the previous gentleman and ourselves, which is to actually close the access of Story Ave onto Te Rapa Road for at least a 3-month trial, will be the actual least cost to the council and actually achieve the results. So it won't reduce the parking, but it will eliminate the rat run. So it wouldn't take much to get a forklift and lift some concrete medium barriers into the Te Rapa Story Ave entrance, and that will stop all the problems. And that will be the least cost to the council. And I have seen the proposal that the council staff came up with, and I actually have quite concerns about what they put forward. Example one was drainage. There will be no drainage changes. So, you know, I think there's some proposal that should be looked at seriously. If you enter from Te Rapa Road into Story Ave, you actually have clear vision. But when you exit from Story Ave onto Te Rapa Road going north, you've got traffic coming through at least 60 kilometres an hour on Te Rapa Road, coming round a bend, exiting the intersection of Beres Court at speed. And I've got a decent vehicle, and I tell you what, I have to boot it and really watch out, because otherwise it is dangerous. And that is a real safety issue. If the road was straight, not a problem. Coming from Te Rapa Road north, entering into Story Ave, not a problem. Coming from Beres Court, entering Story Ave, not a problem. It's actually exiting Story Ave onto Te Rapa Straight heading north. So most of the traffic that go south of Story Ave will head to the Beres Court intersection. And at the present moment, you already do have controlled lights at the Te Rapa intersection and at the Beres Court intersection for controlling the traffic effectively and safely. So to actually solve the rat run and not eliminate the parking, I think closing Story Ave there at the entrance at Te Rapa Straight would be the cheapest for the council and the safest for all people involved. But failing that, if the speed humps are decided on, we have concerns about the yellow dotted lines reducing the parking outside a public facility.
Could I just ask, because I hear what you've just said, we heard from the previous submitter that the most frequent emergency service to use the area is the police, but I dare say from time to time both fire trucks and ambulance might be required. What would be the implication for them, do you think?
I'm not sure on that part, but at the same stage, I know that any emergency services has the same issue in the CBD.
I'm just aware of the fact that we're not too far away from 2 retirement villages, and there are quite a few retired people living in the Story Ave and immediate surrounds area for whom particularly ambulances might be a particularly important thing. I'm just trying to think through what all the implications might be of your proposal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Tim. I don't see any other questions online. I've got questions, but they're more for staff, so I think that's, yep, we're good. Thanks, Grant. Thank you for taking time. Okay, oh, excuse me, Robin, if you'd like to come forward now. Just going to make mention now, just hold on a second, this is what I'm talking about. So we've got quite a suite of recommendations that have come through. I'm going to put a motion that we defer the Seddon Road one, which will become apparent when Robin gets to that topic. So I'll just need a seconder. If someone would like to help me out on that, I can explain why. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Tim. So yeah, if we can be okay with going through the rest of them, but we'll look to keep setting out separately at this stage.
And are you also proposing, Chair, to take the matter of Knighton Road and Story Ave as two additional items?
I see Deputy Mayor Angela's got her hand up, and I could hear a little voice come in. I think she was going to probably ask the same thing, were you? Yep, okay. Should we? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah, should we go with questions of the staff first and see what that looks like? But I'm open
Just
to that.
in terms of it being relevant to our
I think
submitters, it'd be quite useful to be able to take the questions of staff and have a presentation.
I
And
agree.
then I'm in your hands about
Yep,
how we then deal with the voting on it. Cheers.
I agree with you on this. Yeah. Deputy Mayor, your hand is still up. Would you like to?
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted for us to deal with those first, so then the presenters can hear the decision and then go about their normal day.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, Robin, we're in your hands.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. We'll take the report as read, but for background for our new member of this panel, I'll just give a bit of an overview of the process and I guess the purpose of these reports. So the projects themselves are generally considered and approved through the Infrastructure and Transport Committee. When it comes to proposed changes out on the network, they do come via a number of means. So sometimes it's a project that we're working on, but more often than not, it's actually in response to a community concern that's been put forward to us. The Local Government Act requires us to consult with those people who are affected, and so we do that via letter drops and door knocks, and we try and get together some feedback on that basis, and then if there's any issues raised, then we look to try and find a consensus through that process. And Knighton Road's an example where we've had meetings on site, and so is Story Ave, where we've had multiple meetings on site, trying to find something that ultimately everyone's happy with. For those situations, we always write a bit of a report in the report, but you will find that there are a lot of other restrictions that there's not a lot of detail on. Those ones are the ones that we've consulted on. Everyone's happy. We can't always get consensus, and that's where we ultimately come to this committee to present where we've got to and seek a final response. As part of the tidy up work that we do, and this is partly to address the written submission that has come through from Phil Evans, basically the way all of our parking restrictions are maintained is in a GIS database. So where we might have an existing 30-metre no stopping restriction, for example, and there's a proposal to extend it by 3 metres, what we do is we rescind the existing 30 and put in a new 33-metre one, rather than ending up with lots of little chunks of bits and pieces. So it means that when you click on it in the GIS system, it brings up the whole length. So I think in Phil Evans' submission, he's just expressed a concern about the amount of rescinded length of no stopping. And you'll see that in various locations, and that's the reason why. It's just to make sure that that GIS database is kept tidy and has the full length rather than a whole lot of little bits. So with that in mind, I will now start through the report, and I'm happy just to work through, perhaps do Story Ave first if you like, and then I'll jump to Knighton Road. I'll provide a quick overview of where we're at and happy to answer any questions. Okay, right, so Story Ave is paragraph 16, it starts, which is page 27 in the agenda. So I think it's been well sort of outlined by our submitters that this is an area that had come to our attention as a result of a petition very early on, which I understand Mr Kindred had facilitated in the first instance. Staff at the time recommended that there was a chicane system put in front of the Woodworkers Guild, and along with changes to the roundabouts. And it was decided at committee that we would just proceed with the roundabout work and we would continue to monitor. I don't think that was, from a staff perspective, there was any expectation that just the roundabout work would be sufficient, but we were happy to try it and see and do the monitoring. So we have looked at alternate options, and we are now proposing 2 speed cushions. The difference, I guess, between speed cushion and a raised safety platform is that they don't go the full width of the road. They're not there for people to walk across, so they don't have those sort of connections for pedestrians and that sort of thing. In this case, that it also does therefore provide a safe facility for cyclists to move, for cyclists to move along the road as well. Those 2 facilities have been moved so they're not directly outside the Woodworkers Guild. They do have an impact on parking on the street in general, but they are not directly outside the Woodworkers Guild. The proposal and petition has been received from the residents with regard to the closure of Story Ave at Te Rapa, and in the attachment 3 you will find that there's been some work done by staff to try and understand the impact that that would have, and also understand where the traffic is moving through this area in general. There is certainly rat running in the area where people are trying to avoid the traffic lights at Te Rapa Forest Lake, but that tends to run through on the western side rather than necessarily going down this section of road. And most of the people moving through this section of road appear to have business in the area as such. But there is still a concern, certainly, and staff support the concern that the residents have about the speeds that people are going through there. We have looked at the closure at Story Ave Te Rapa as an option, and have concerns about the impact that that would have on the general network, and also some key intersections, including the Garnet Ave, where there is already quite a lot of queuing in place. And this morning we have received written response from FENZ saying that their preference would be to have the raised platform, the speed cushions, rather than closure. So I'm happy to take questions from there.
Sorry, my microphone's not on. I don't see any questions from the floor at this stage. Deputy Mayor Angela's not on online. Just one question from me. What's a tube?
So the speed tubes are basically, they're a black tube that we should put across the road.
Oh.
And they basically, when a vehicle goes over them, they push air, and that counts the vehicles and registers speed.
Okay, right,
Yeah,
and that just
so that's a
registers.
tube count.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. I've seen those on the road before. Not,
Yes, yeah.
So I noticed in the report we only had one down for a week in September. Does that give us kind of a good?
That's a typical 1
Is
week,
it?
is
Yep.
yes, for
Okay.
all of our counts that we do around the city.
Okay, all right. I think that's all I had. Councillor Van Oosten.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Robin. It's been quite a journey, I guess. Mr. Taylor today talked about a right turn out of Story, and also made a comment that you could easily put a couple of concrete blocks at the front for a cheap way to close the road. Do you see those as being suitable, permanent treatment for that area?
So I guess there is the choice in the network at the moment. You don't have to come in and out of Story Ave at Te Rapa. There is the ability to get in via other means. You know, there is the ability, if people don't feel comfortable with making those turns, that they can go elsewhere. As far as putting some concrete blocks down, from a safety perspective, no, they're not forgiving if a vehicle hits them. You'd have to have appropriate traffic management in place to put something in place to close that road, even for a temporary period. The data that we've provided in attachment 3 points to issues that we already have, for example, for southbound traffic coming into Garnet Ave, that queue already going past the length of the right turn bay, and concerns about the fact that that would then be extended and have an impact on the efficiency of Te Rapa Road, which is obviously a key route for the city to try and keep traffic moving. So we've done trials elsewhere, trying to modify people's behaviours in travelling direction. We did one at the top of Ulster Street onto Mill Street a few years ago, and it just ends up actually being a bit of a nightmare trying to keep it all in place and keep it tidy. So my preference would be not to.
Okay. And in terms of the no right turn, we would still need to be able to put something in the roadway to prevent people just doing it anyway?
So right turn from
Story Ave into
Te Rapa.
southbound Te Rapa.
Yes, that's something that we could look at. That would probably require the installation of an island or something like that to direct traffic. What you're likely to see is people will turn left instead and then do a U-turn in the next intersection.
Indeed, yeah.
So, yeah.
They'll find a way, won't they, if they want to get there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And it wouldn't have any impact on the speeds that are being experienced by the neighbours now, residents?
If you stop traffic going down through there and it was only residents, then that would. But making changes to the intersection itself, given the nature of Story Ave, which is wide and straight, as roads of that era were built, then, and it has a downhill component to it, then it does invite speed, whether intentionally or not.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thanks.
No other questions? I've got a question. Have speed cameras ever been considered for Story Ave, or was that something that would come from NZTA?
So speed cameras, safety cameras are currently with the operation of them is with the New Zealand Police.
Oh, yeah.
They're in the process of handing those across to New Zealand Transport Agency,
Okay.
NZTA. And they do have limited numbers of those cameras. They're looking at an increase in the number throughout the country. And they're working, I think the big issue at the moment for NZTA is making sure that the back room, the processing of all of the tickets is done appropriately, and that was the issue that the police had for dealing with quantities. It's not clear yet as to the ability for councils to fund things like speed cameras, and then the ability, more importantly, for the data that's collected to hook into that system, because ultimately it would need either the police currently or NZTA when that handover happens to be issuing those infringements.
Sure, okay. Could be quite an expensive resource. And the loss of car parks in relation to the Woodworkers Guild, looking on the map, so they were, I take it, consulted with around the imminent.
There's been meetings on site and minutes included in the Appendix 3 of those meetings, trying to find a compromise, I guess, where we're having a less of a direct impact on the Woodworkers Guild, so we don't have the loss of parking directly outside their facility. It is a little bit further away. It is recognised that there is a parking demand, but all streets have a parking demand, and unfortunately, when we put these facilities in, we will need that no stopping to cater for that.
Yeah, and it was only two. It was about 2 parks, wasn't it?
Yes, it varies depending on the actual site, but the length is shown on the locations are shown and on page 30 of the report and under clause 40.
Okay, no further questions, so how do we want to, move on to the next one? Or do you want to
Did you want to, did you want to vote on that?
Yeah, I was going to say,
one now?
do you want
and-
to, yep,
So I'll just
Okay,
step
so we
back
have
and
to-
let you do that.
put a, separate it out, yep. It's, Story Ave is going to be 22, yep, got there, yep. So page 22, so we're going to take that one out and go with staff. You're happy to move staff recommendation? And councillor Casey Cox, yep. So we're just going to separate it out from the suite of projects?
If the members are happy
Yeah.
to do it along with the full suite, we can
Yeah.
just make it part of the full suite and not take it out.
Well, I think we'll just do it separately. Yeah, I mean, unless you're happy to go with the, we'll do it separately. Oh, let's do it separately. Okay. Would you like to talk to it, Maxine, as the mover?
Yeah, just quickly, I've been in a conversation just about as long as Mr. Kennard, Kindred, I beg your pardon, and could see clearly that residents had some significant concerns. Those concerns, you know, have been listened to and heard over those 4 years, and staff have, in my view, done a number of things to try to alleviate the problem. Yes, it's a big wide road on a downward slope that encourages speeders, and that's the biggest concern. It's not the ones going up the hill to turn right or others. It's not necessarily the traffic that's outside the school and Steel Road. Those roundabouts may have dealt with some of the speed in the middle of that area. It's the ones that are coming down the hill that are the problem. It's the residents that live in those numbers that face the biggest risk. And we've seen that recently with the photos and the conversation that Mr. Kindred has brought into the chamber today regarding those accidents. And those are just the two that he's given us information about. It's not the ones that do the regular speeding and the rat running through that area. In the first instance, I thought closing the right-hand turn from Te Rapa would have been a great solution until I talked to staff about that further and really understood the full implications of that. So really, you know, we're faced with the only best way now to approve those cushions and to give these residents some peace and enjoyment in their own environment and streets, and I'm happy to support that, Chair.
Maxine, councillor Anna, no comment? No one else? Okay. Yeah, I echo your sentiments as well, councillor Maxine. If you do the numbers quickly, I think there's something like about, off the top of my head, 200 odd cars using that road to access Waterworld as well. And I think, but at the end of the day, FENS probably trumps everything. And when you think about it, emergency services are pretty important. Closing off Story Ave would be place a huge amount of stress on the network in other places. However, I like the speed cushions as a compromise. So I'm pleased with the work that staff have done there. Let's hope it's the start of safer, calmer traffic on that road. We all probably know the road quite well. I do myself. I've been down it several times. So yeah, let's hope it works. And if it doesn't, let's address it and see if we can fix it for next time. So, put the motion to the table. All those in favour say aye. 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 Councillor, yep. Against? No.
Carried unanimously.
Okay. Alrighty-o. Right, welcome back, Robin. Now, this is Knighton Road, so we'll take this one as a separate recommendation as well.
So page 34
Thanks for coming in.
and clause 56.
34, did you say?
Yes, on page 34.
Thank you,
clause
Robin.
Clause 56.
Yep.
So I guess just noting the submitters' concerns about the original proposal, just draw elected members' attention to clause 61 and the picture on page 35, where we have amended the extensive no stopping to try and reflect those additional areas to park. For dealing with this, we've had a look at trying to call this Knighton Road Service Lane to provide some more certainty around this area. Technically, it is road, and therefore, to manage it, it is something that Hamilton City Council has to deal with. I would be happy to include in the resolution in brackets service lane to provide some more clarity around that location, but come back to the fact that these restrictions are ultimately recorded in the GIS system, so they are pictorial in nature, and that is how the original picture showing the yellow no stopping extents are actually captured. But I think adding in those words, service lane, should help provide some certainty around the fact that in the future people won't be confused about where that restriction is proposed.
Okay, thanks, Robin. Okay, well, I'm happy with that. Arnold, are you going to, governance are just going to,
I'll write it after minor amendments.
yep.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh,
I
yeah,
see
we'll-
Deputy Mayor Angela's.
Yep, we'll take some questions and then Arnold will pop that up on the big screen for us. Right, well, Deputy Mayor Angela, would you like to kick off from Zoomland?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Robin. So, Robin, you said you've amended the plan based on some of the feedback. So, Brenda presented a list of around 8 car parks this morning. So, have those now been added in?
So yes, the picture shown under clause 61,
Yeah.
we've picked up the couple of car parks on the entrance, and then
Yeah.
there's room along the back and immediately adjacent to Greensboro Park through to that corner.
Okay, so that's there's sort of 2 gaps there, isn't there, on Greensboro Park on
Yes.
that side?
Yes.
Okay, and then
Yeah, there's just a
so-
little bit there in the middle of it, just so that where people need to access through into the park.
that pathway, yeah. So are there no other? So did we basically add in all of Brenda's requests of sort of adding in the additional 8 parks?
I believe that we have picked up the requests. Yes.
Okay, cool. And then just in terms of clarifying wording, where she did a really good written submission that's in our agenda, have we included any of that for clarity, or do you have a specific response on that?
So I'm suggesting that in the recommendations that we put under Knighton Road, then put in brackets service lane.
The service lane, yeah.
Yes, just to provide that clarity that it is the section that runs around the back,
Yeah,
which people would describe as a service lane. Legally it's not, but it provides that a little additional clarity for that, along with the fact that it's all captured in a GIS visual database.
okay. And there was nothing else, I'm just scanning her written presentation again, there was nothing else from her presentation that we haven't included and taken on board?
I believe we've got everything covered with the
Okay.
revised proposal.
Great, okay. Chair, I'd like to move that when you're ready. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, you've got a seconder in thank you, Deputy Mayor Angela, and you've got a seconder in Councillor Maxine. What? Okay, Councillor McIndoe, you have a question of staff for clarification, or?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, I just feel before we vote on this, I want to be absolutely assured that the submitter's entire suggestions have at least been considered and answered, and I'm not entirely sure, looking at the two, looking at Robin and Brenda, I'm not entirely sure that we've got that agreement yet. And I think before we go, I would like to feel that the submitter has had full answers, and if necessary, is it possible even maybe to bring her back to the table so that there can be discussion between the two? Because it seems to me they're both in the room, makes more sense than rushing to a decision when it might be easy enough to resolve just by clearing up any misunderstanding that may be here.
Okay, all right. Well, I can see Robin's talking to Brenda now. Yeah. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a little 5-minute break, and just so that we can sort that out. Back at 10:40. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, so we'll call the meeting back to, back on. Now, I believe there's been some good chat in the break, but I can see a question from Councillor Maxine.
Robin, is this a one-way system, or is it currently any way you like?
So currently it's any way you like,
Yes.
and we are proposing a one-way system, and that was supported by Brenda, I understand.
Okay. In the picture on page 35, there's a white car on kind of a little angle. It looks like it's in the driveway. Is that a legitimate car park, or is that a car that's just got caught going in at a kind of a weird time?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just the fate of when they took the photo.
Okay. Oh, that's good, because here it looks like it's parked in the driveway. But that's possibly something that happens in shops and things around
I
there.
imagine that it does, and I guess part of what this is, as I said, it's a road. To make anything enforceable, we need to go through this process. So that will help the parking enforcement team if there's a call and there's anything needed.
Right. And do we have any rubbish trucks or anything that go around that little lane, or do they bring their bins out the front?
I
Oh,
wouldn't
Brenda?
know, but
Okay. At the front, at number 6.
Used to be a public rubbish bin.
133 there.
Halfway in Greensboro, but that was removed 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. Okay. So we don't have any large vehicles, but would need to be able to provide access for emergency services potentially.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Council on another occasion.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so I believe we've got a resolution up on stage, up on screen. Changes. Okay. Deputy Mayor Angela, would you like to speak to the...
Yeah, look, just really quickly, thanks, Chair. Look, thank you, Brenda. I'm not sure, I can't see you if you're still in the room, but thank you so much for coming today. And it sounds like via my good colleague and friend, Councillor Van Osten, who went and had a listen or a chat with you and staff, that it's been a really positive result, and all of the requests that Brenda has had and concerns have been mitigated and incorporated. So thank you, Brenda, to you, and thank you, staff. Hopefully this will help for a better and more responsive traffic and pedestrian space in the area. Thanks again. Thanks, Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Maxine, did you want... No? Okay. Would anyone else like to... No? Okay.
Brenda, for getting together during the break, and it was very pleasing to hear that there is now agreement over the issue.
Good. Okay. I'll put the motion. So all those in favour? Aye. Aye. Zoom in, raise your hand. Yep. Against? No.
Carried unanimously.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Brenda. Thanks for coming in today. Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, welcome back, Robin.
Righty-ho. So I'll just do a quick race back to go through a couple of the items that we skipped over. So Wiltshire Drive, page 32, just a quick update to let the panel know that we have met with the resident, and we're getting some more information gathered there, and we hope to present that to the next meeting. I'm assuming no questions? Sorry. Angela, you've got your hand up, so that's why I'm just checking. Thank you. Cool. Tui Karamea Road, so this was one that we were asked to bring back again, and that was presented at the last panel meeting. There was a request for some more information on exactly how much parking was being lost, so that's now included under clause 47. And on 49, we've just shown the one location where residents had objected, so the rest of the sites that are proposed, people are comfortable with that. I'm not going to say they're happy, but they're comfortable with why we're doing it. There was this one location opposite Jasmine Ave, which I have shown in the pictures there. and I believe that Phil Evans' submission was also in regard to Karamea. So happy to take questions. Yes, looks like Deputy Mayor Angela's put her hand up again.
Okay, yep, Deputy Mayor Angela, fire away.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Robin, and thanks for the committee to support this to get a little bit more information back. I'm comfortable with those number of car parks being reduced. I'm just, Robin, I'm just on Mr. Evans's submission, which is for the committee. It's on page 109. So I have a few questions that he's raised. In terms of the buffer zone, well, I guess first question, Robin, is so the paint layout that's there now with the double white lines, is that if the committee supports this today, so there's nothing else that will change other than the additional stopping lines going in?
Correct.
Okay, so those double white lines, is that the buffer zone that Mr. Evans is talking about, that creates the buffer zone to the cycle lane?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and is that sort of a new treatment for our cycle lanes?
I guess that it's a treatment that has been available. We've tried where we can to install something a bit wider, and to reinforce that with the hit sticks and those sorts of things where we can, or the concrete separators. But in streets such as this, where you've got a lot of vehicle entrances, it's basically impossible to do that. But yes, that little bit more room gives it a bit more room for the cyclists, a bit more room for the cars as well, just if people stray a little bit. And I guess it's similar to some of the treatments that we see in some of our rural roads, where they've done what they call a wide centre line treatment, which is a little bit more space in between people, just to give that ability to wander slightly if you're not 100% attentive to the task.
Yeah. Now, Robin, Mr. Evans talks about the buffer zone exists for most of the length of the road, but it's missing in a few points. Is there a reason that it's missing, or can we respond to his request in the submission on those 3 points?
I'm certainly happy to respond to Mr. Evans directly. Basically, what we've tried to do is take the opportunity that the reseal provided for us to have a look at the road marking along the length. We have done nothing other than road marking changes, so I would believe that where we haven't managed to fit it in, it would actually require us to do some physical works, which wasn't the intention of that particular project.
Physical works as in just joining up the lines or doing something else?
Moving curb lines so that we had a little bit more width to deal with and to cater for that. So there are pinch points along the length of it. So we've tried to, I guess, do the best we can with just a reseal and road marking changes.
Is there something else that we can I don't know, a different colour paint or something that gives the cyclist some comfort that it's a continuous cycle lane? Because I'm familiar with the area, but I'm imagining that there's the 2 lanes with being the buffer lane or buffer area, and then there's just nothing, and then it's not till you sort of get a few more metres down that it sort of connects up. Is that sort of a principle in our cycle lane application, or is it better to have something a bit more continuous?
I will get
that makes sense.
I'll get the crew just to double check, because it should have the dotted green and the cycle symbol. So we can certainly look at the locations that Mr. Evans has raised, and it may be that the frequency of the cycle symbols may be technically correct, but often there are locations where it just makes sense to pop another one in, just to provide that reinforcement. So happy to follow up through that.
Great, okay. And then just one other point, and this was one of the reasons, even though I didn't articulate it, that I wanted for us to go back and have a look at this when it came last time, is that he's said there that there are other parks that are very narrow, including one section where the car park width is about 1.5 metres, which of course means the car park parks right over the new bike lane. Is that again, I mean, this is I'm assuming this is quite a wide, well, it is quite a wide road. So was that sort of thing taken into account when we went in and put the new road markings down for the buffer lane? Why do we end up sort of with these situations? Because it's bad enough having a buffer lane and then a door that swings right out in front of a cyclist, but when the actual, when it's just literally too narrow that a car's going to be in the way, seems a bit counterintuitive.
Yes, so I guess what we've tried to do is the best that we can. We've narrowed the travelling lanes for the vehicles. You will see in the picture on page 33 that, that there is quite a lot of width, well, there was, I should say, quite a lot of width for a vehicle travelling lane. At the end of the day, we've tried to come up with the best that we can, given that it was just a reseal and we were just doing road marking. And as I said, happy to look and see if there's any additional node stopping or something that we can do, and that may be that's some curb changes or something through a future program. But at this stage, it was really just trying to make the best out of what we could. I think the big advantage is that it means that we're not spending money in the future on putting black paint to try and amend road marking, which never seems to work as successfully as white paint does for some reason. So, so that's where we're at. But happy to follow through on Phil's submission and to work through those directly.
And particularly on those 2 points would be really great. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
You're welcome. Thanks, Deputy Mayor.
Do you want to just continue?
I just have a question on that Tui Karamea one. Do we have just out of interest, is there any data count on cyclists in the area?
I don't have off the top of my head, but that's something, we're getting more and more data.
Yeah.
So this is not necessarily a new cycle lane. This is just trying to make the existing cycle lane safer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the no stopping though was that residence driven, or is it come from?
No, that was as a result of us having a look at that new road marking scheme and trying to address those pinch points.
Yeah. And there's parking, just looking at that road there. I'm going to point this way because it feels like it's coming towards me, but there is more parking up, isn't there? Yeah. Okay. All right. No, that's cool. Thank you.
Okay, so the next one I have is Seddon Road. So on page 36, clause 66 is the proposed mobility parking restrictions on Seddon Road. So this one was in response to a customer who attends Seddon Park and has mobility issues. I had a chat with Councillor Mark yesterday. We've provided a bit more clarity as to when this is needed, and at this stage we're going to propose that this item get held over to enable us to have some more discussions with the Northern Districts. So while we talked with H3, we'll have a discussion with Northern Districts and see if this is something that they're happy to incorporate as part of their temporary traffic management when they do events. And see if we can come up with a way of making these available when there's events on at the stadium rather than being a 24/7. So with your leave, that's what we're proposing at this stage, that we do a bit more work and come back to the main meeting.
So this is where to the next one, just so we can go back and get more information and have that discussion with Northern Districts around what a traffic plan could look like. Literally backing up what Robin's just said. So, it was just to provide more of a temporary arrangement as opposed to a permanent one, because the road is used quite frequently by significant number of other car users for other events. Spoken to Ben at Northern Districts and had a chat to him about what the implications of that look like, and it was and it's, you know, he's quite right, there's mobility users coming to Seddon Park, but it's only generally for, you know, large-scale events, but also there are the minor events that they come in for, like Shell Cup and all that sort of thing. It's being played at the moment because they have a lot of life members who are quite a bit older and do require the mobility car parks. My suggestion, well, I came with Robin, you know, we thought, well, what about taking a temporary approach as opposed to permanent paint on the car park? That's what I came up with. Are you comfortable with that, Tim?
Yes, I just was going to suggest, since effectively you're talking about events, and I agree, Northern Districts is a key player, pardon the pun, a key player there. Have you also had consultation with the team at Seddon Park Funeral Home? Because you would describe a funeral as an event as well, and it probably happens a lot more often than cricket matches, and a lot of their larger funerals do create significant additional problems in the parking in the area. So I'm just suggesting that maybe bringing them into that consultation could be helpful. I mean, they may say, well, it's not our problem, it's the problem of those people attending, but again, you have quite often an older demographic because they are funerals and people with mobility issues that need to be considered.
Consideration. Oops, sorry. Councillor Maxine, you have a question?
I see Councillor Louise also has her hand up. Perhaps if I defer to her, and then if she doesn't ask my question, I'll come in after. Thank you.
Councillor Louise?
Okay, can you hear me? I have a weird Zoom setup, don't... Hopefully you can hear me okay. I don't know what Councillor Maxine's question is, but I just wanted to maybe ask Robin's opinion. Do we have precedent of this happening elsewhere? I guess I'm not inherently against this. I'm just a bit curious about allowing people to park in a disability park sometimes, and just whether that might be a little bit confusing for people.
So what we'd have to do is have a look at how we deal with the signage. We wouldn't end up putting the road marking down. So that would be a piece of the work that we need to do to make sure that the temporary signage made it very clear that they were disability car parks, and it would be the requirement on to Northern Districts and H3 to make sure that they're actively supporting and keeping an eye on those two car parks there as well. So I guess that's part of having that discussion with them before coming back to you and just making sure that they're comfortable to provide that support for those two if we weren't going to have them marked permanently.
Would you use one of those, like, you know, those like flip down signs?
Yes, that's the sort of thing that we're looking at. But it may mean that there needs to be a cone or something or other else just to support that as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Robin.
That was a very good question, Councillor Louise. However, it wasn't mine. And acknowledge Tim's, Councillor Tim's point with regard to other users and a wider consultation. Acknowledge that there is potentially one disability parker who wants to be able to use that, but what fuller consultation have we done with the sector and to broaden our understanding about using or being able to attend events or not be able to attend events because there isn't adequate parking around. So, God, a roundabout question. Yeah.
Yes, I guess the short answer is that CCS Disability Action, who we would normally chat with, have a vacancy that at the moment. So while we contacted them, we weren't able to get any feedback from them. So this additional time will enable us to have another chat with them around that as well. So we will reach out to them, and if they still don't have anyone, we will have a go at talking to some of our other contacts as well, who are not necessarily formally part of that group, but people like Jerry Pomeroy, who's within the Disabled Persons Assembly and those sorts of folks might be also able to give us some feedback as well.
Yeah, terrific. And then also, so that we've got a fuller understanding of the provision of parking in that area, what other disability parking is around there, so that we can understand whether there's enough or not enough or needed more at particular times. Thanks.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all from
that's
me.
fine.
Chair.
This is the only on-street stuff, but there's certainly provision off-street as part of the H3 Seddon Park, and I believe that Seddon Park Funeral also probably have some
Yes,
mobility
they
car
do.
parking as well. Whether it's sufficient or not is always a difficulty, but yes, yeah, that's fine, and we're happy to do that.
Deputy Mayor Angela, would you like to give another question?
Yep, thank you. So, Max, Councillor Van Osten's asked a couple of questions for more clarity. Is this whole strip along Seddon, Robin, is that commuter parking? Is that paid parking?
Not at this stage, but it is intended in the future to be. So that'll be something that we're looking in subsequent meetings.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I hate getting into this level of detail, but is it correct that you said that these car parks, if they were temporary, any other time they would just have the normal white paint and be the regular size of a car park? Is that correct?
Yeah, so the location and how we've got it set up is there was actually already and you can just see it under the big hatching area, there's already a no parking section there because there's a pedestrian cut down area. So we're utilising that. So we're basically using 2 existing car parks and making the best use of that no parking area and the cut down, because that's really important where you have the mobility car parks, is then being actually be able to get up onto the footpath easily. So the layout doesn't change per se. The no parking area is an existing one, and we can reinforce that. And that would mean that if we move to a temporary type basis, that when that was in place, there would still be good provision for people to be able to get around and back up onto the footpath.
So it would be, okay, so I think I understand that then. In terms, you'd reinforce the no parking space, but it would be reliant on the event organisers on any day there is an event to put the appropriate signs out. And other than that, someone with a disability who was looking for a car park wouldn't know that there were these on-street spaces for them.
Yes, and I guess that's where we try and work quite closely with the likes of CCS Disability, who issue the mobility cards, to put information out to their members to make them aware of it. And Councillor Mark suggested that a lot of the people who need it are life members of Northern Districts. So again, as an event organiser, they've got the ability to tell people around the provision that they're providing. And then finally, we do have maps of the CBD area where the mobility car parks are. So what we could do is extend that map to cover this area to indicate that they are, if we decide, either permanent or temporary, and those provisions. So we can include that information on the website as well.
Okay, and then if it comes back and the committee decides that these would be temporary ones, can we, because it is on-street parking, so it's controlled by the city, can we, mandate's a bit of a stronger word, but I guess that is what I'm sort of saying, that any events that occur, they have to do this provision so that an event organiser can't just simply go, oh, I forgot, or someone moved the orange cone. Can we mandate that given it's on-street public space?
Yes, as part of the temporary traffic management for the event, and I guess that's the sort of discussion we'd like to have with them offline first.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that then. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor, and very good line of questioning too. So Arnold's just made a governance. Arnold has just made a very slight tweak to the words, changing it to with all stakeholders. So, Councillor Tim, are you comfortable? I think that encompasses exactly what we're. Yep. Yeah.
Just along.
Yep. So we'll put that to the floor as the. Sorry.
Because does that take out the stakeholders in the disability sector? I don't know. Arnold, up to you. I just wouldn't want to, you know, I hear from staff that they'll consult, and that's good enough for me.
Let's just put all stakeholders.
Kia ora.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, thanks, Councillor Maxine. So, as mover of the motion, I'll just talk to it quickly. Look, I think this is just all about a little bit more consultation with the key group there being H3 Seddon Park ground. It's not designed in any way to take traffic parking away from mobility holders. If anything, the life members of that cricket association are actually incredibly important when it comes to the association itself. I mean, if we had it our way, we'd have gold-plated car parks for them all around the ground if we could do it, but we're obviously not allowed to do that. So, look, I think this is a good compromise, and it brings in, a good bit of common sense. However, it leaves it open to be discussed, and if it comes back that painted mobility car parking is a better option permanently, then so be it. That'll be the will of the stakeholders in the committee. So that's all I'll say to that. Councillor Tim, would you like to say anything? Anyone else got any comments? No? Okay. Put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Oh, just Seddon Road. Yep. 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 Sorry, yeah, no, next one's for the whole suite. Yeah. So just voting on Seddon. Yep. All those in favour say aye. Raise your hand in Zoom land. Thank you. All those against? No.
Carried unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Welcome back again, Robin. Hopefully this is the last one. Not that we don't enjoy seeing you up here.
Right. Okay. Traffic bylaw changes, clause 71, page 37. So as part of our general review and making sure we've got everything tidy, we've had a summer student in place, and this is just the next sections on the cycle path registers, which are the off-road shared facilities, and then the cycle lanes are tidy-ups to our bylaw to capture what's already existing. So it's purely an administrative process, making sure that we've got them all in place. Some of these are ones that have been put in by developers, for example, the web drive, when they've been built, and just making sure that we've got those lists all correct. The one-way roads register picks up the discussion that we had around that Knighton Road service lane. So that was clause 81. And then we come to the all-day paid parking. So technically starts on page 43, but 44. So we have 4 additional locations that we have done some consultation: Hill Street, Ruakiwi, Tainui and Victoria Street. In the case of Tainui Street, following feedback from residents adjacent to that location, we have altered the original proposal. So I guess as a sort of a semi-standard way of doing this, when we look at this all-day paid parking, we tend to have one side with the all-day paid parking and the other side we look at something like a P120 type restriction for that turnover. So that has been a slight amendment for that section of Tainui Street. Probably just happy to take any questions on that. All-day paid parking, if there are any.
Certainly none from me. I don't see any on the board at this stage, although, oh no, Councillor Casey Cox is.
Just, I think I read somewhere that you were going to talk more with Girls High. Was it in relation to these all-day parking, and it wasn't included in the report? Just
Yes, so we've been we've had some initial feedback from the Girls High, and we've been trying to catch up with them.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't managed to have a meeting yet, but we believe that the change to Tainui Street will address some of their concerns.
Okay.
The Hill Street parking, we have only changed where currently there's all-day free parking. So it's not changing their ability to have drop-off and pick-up type activities happening. And in the case of Ruakiwi, what we've done is done the all-day pay parking on the lake side, so that as much as anything, that was to minimise the number of people crossing the road there. So they're likely to come in first thing in the morning and disappear at night, and having the time restriction on the Girls High side of Ruakiwi helps with some of that turnover as well.
Okay.
That also helps support the Cancer Society and their workers and the visitors to that facility as well, being able to get parking for a couple of hours to pop up and visit people.
Okay. So you're reasonably confident that the Girls High will be happy with the
Yes,
changes?
and like all parking restrictions, you know, we'll monitor and see how it's getting on. We can always come back and to this committee and seek changes as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor, I'll go to Councillor McIndoe and then we'll go to Deputy Mayor Angela online.
A quick question, with all of the changes that are being proposed, do we have any way of estimating what the revenue that this might generate will be? And I apologise if it is somewhere I haven't seen it, but
Yes, we should have, but I don't have that to hand, sorry.
I mean, I am mindful of the fact, given the position we're in, any additional
Oh, sorry.
revenue is a factor in all of our decisions going forward.
Sorry, it is actually included here.
So what
Financial consideration, clause 114, page 52, estimated at 100,000.
Excellent, and I'm sorry I didn't see that previously, but that's helpful to have that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Robin, just a general question on, but I suppose a little bit around the Girls High, Cancer Society, Tainui Street, all of those sort of areas. I obviously observe, I come this way to work every day, so I know that workers are parking and they get there really early. It's probably good for business, right? They arrive to work early to get a car park. In terms of rolling these things out, what's our signage going to be looking like? Because I'm aware that there's been I've received some complaints about the new technology and stuff going into the CBD and the lack of signage. So, and I guess, is there going to be a grace period for these parkers that will rock up there and realise that now it's paid parking?
Yes, so a couple of answers to that. We will be changing the permanent signage on site. We also have some large call floats and some stickers that we put on the footpath when those signs go up, just to really raise the awareness of the change. And there's about a 2-week sort of grace period where there are notices given to people just to let them know that there has been that change. And what we've also done in that period is have our parking officers sort of generally around at that sort of beginning of the day to help anyone who doesn't perhaps have the app or needs to find the app, so they can help them literally right there and then on their phone get the app loaded up, so that there's that sort of assistance as well, along with a whole lot of stuff on the website, and we do radio advertising and that sort of thing as well, just to make sure everyone's aware of the changes.
Yeah, okay. Just anecdotally, well, probably you'll know, it won't be anecdotal for you, But, you know, when we put these things in, these changes in, and we've seen it around the lake many times, haven't we, when we've tried to put time restrictions around the lake, it just disperses and pushes, you know, there's that sort of tsunami effect where it just pushes people to different areas. Are you expecting, I guess, is there an amount, a quantum, I hate using that word, Councillor Wilson's word, that of a percentage that just think, oh, well, now I've got to pay, and then another percentage that just desperately look further out into the residential streets for the free parking again? Do we sort of have that kind of a measurement?
Not really. It is hard, and you're right that there are the two camps. And I think also, and it was something that they saw at the university when they started charging for parking there, a lot of people on principle said they weren't going to pay for parking and would go and find somewhere else. And then when winter hit, they decided that parking that little bit closer and not walking as far in the rain was quite desirable. So I guess it's one of the problems for, you know, Hamilton as a growing city. You know, we're becoming a big city now. We're not a teenager anymore. So this is one of those things that sort of come along with that sort of growth, unfortunately. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Angela. Very good questions, actually. Thank you. Okay.
And I think I've finished
Okay,
my coverage now. So.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks, Robin. So do I need a mover and a seconder for the suite now? So I'm happy to move the suite of recommendations, and Councillor Casey Cox is seconding it. So as a mover, I'll just speak quickly, especially to that last topic around paid parking. I mean, you know, we live in it's very much a society now of user pays, and it was a really good. I commend Deputy Mayor Angela on her line of questioning. Actually, it was good points, because there will be a percentage of people that will move further out, but there'll be the others that will just say, you know what, I'm just happy to pay. I mean, this is not trying to change someone's behaviour from moving them from cars to, you know, to a mode shift. This is just purely and simply saying it's a user pay system that we live in. So that's my piece. Councillor Casey Cox, you're okay. Councillor Louise.
Thank you. I just wanted to make some really quick comments. I wanted to thank staff, because one of my favourite, one of the reasons why I enjoy this committee is often when you're reading through the reports and you can see that, you know, a member of the public has brought something to us, or a member of the public has said, hold on, you propose this change, but actually, could we propose, you know, a little change? And particularly in the item around Girls High, I really noticed in the reports that, you know, there was a residential apartment that said, hey, could you maybe not do the park outside our house? And then seeing how we had, you know, directly just gone, yep, cool, you can have your park back. Just things like that I think are just so important, and I really appreciate the fact that our staff are a lot of the time really responsive to the needs of the community, and it's a really tough job to walk that line, and I'm sure we all know it. So I just wanted to take the time to say thank you to our staff for this. Always really appreciative of the compromises that we can find for the community.
Great, thanks, Councillor Louise. I echo your comments as well. There's no other. It was the medical students who talked about carpooling and commuting to and from work. So yeah, well spotted. With that in mind, I'll put the motion to the floor, and I'll say, all those in favour raise your hands or say aye, whichever takes your fancy. Against? No, ayes have it.
Carried unanimously.
Okay. Brings us to the end. I would like to thank staff for their work in the, preparing for this meeting today. Thank you, councillors, for attending in person and on Zoom. Really appreciate you coming to this committee. And I'd like to thank our governance team for their work today too, because they've worked very hard behind the scenes fixing IT issues right at the start. So with that in mind, thanks everyone. Have a great day out there.